Cricket lovers, picture this. It's Boxing Day 1992. The MCG is buzzing, 50,000 strong, and the West Indies are in town. Not quite the fire-breathing monsters they were in the 80s, but still, a team you didn't want to mess with, unless you had a spare helmet and a life insurance policy. Legends like Viv Richards, Gordon Greenwich and Malcolm Marshall were waving goodbye, but even their shadows were intimidating. Since 1978, Australia had beaten them in just 6 out of 33 tests. 6. That's not a rivalry, that's a recurring trauma. And now, out of nowhere, Australia had summoned a new gladiator. Except, this one didn't look like much of a gladiator. He had the body of a beach bum, the face of a cheeky schoolboy, and the aura of a guy who bowled leg spin because batting was too much effort. At that point, he wasn't a magician. He wasn't a genius. He was just, well, a guy who took 1 for 228 on debut against India. Yes, 1 wicket for 228 runs. Ouch. And don't worry, it didn't get better. 4 wickets at an average of 96.5 in his first few tests. So, when the selectors picked him for the Boxing Day test, no one expected much. Not the crowd, not the experts, and certainly not the West Indies. Even Brian Lara admitted, "We honestly had no knowledge of his exploits. That's a polite quote for, who's this guy?" But this was the day they met their greatest nemesis, their hidden weakness, their Achilles heel. And that heel had a name, Shane Keith Warne. Australia batted first and piled on the runs, like they were planning for a rainy week. Mark Waugh played a lazy yet beautiful knock of 112, while Alan Border showed the youngsters how it's done with a gritty 110. The scoreboard read 395, solid. And then came Warne's turn with the ball. The big moment, the chance to silence the critics. And he took 1 wicket. Just 1. But let's not get too excited. It wasn't Brian Lara or Richie Richardson. It was Curtly Ambrose. Yes, the giant with thunder in his eyes and lightning in his arm. But with the bat, let's just say he wasn't there for his cover drives. Warne got him 1 for 65. Not mind-blowing, but hey, better than 1 for 228, right? The West Indies could only muster 233 in reply. Australia had the upper hand, for now. Australia came out to bat again, but got bundled out for 196. As if they were trying to keep things interesting. And just like that, the West Indies had a target, 359. Big, but not impossible. Especially with the guys like Richie Richardson and Phil Simmons at the crease on day 5. They cruised along, and at one stage, they were 1 for 143. The sun was out, the pitch was flat. The Aussie bowlers were toiling, and Shane Warne, he was again wicketless. The test looked destined for a draw, until... And then came the moment. The one that didn't just change the match, it changed Shane Warne's entire career. Literally, he let the ball rip, only this time, it wasn't the usual leggy. It didn't grip, it didn't turn, it skidded, fast and low, like it had somewhere else to be. Richie Richardson didn't pick it. The ball went between bat and pad and cannoned into the stumps. Gone. Cleaned up. Warne did not just bowl a delivery. He bowled the flipper. His flipper. The West Indies thought it was just a rogue ball that stayed low. But no, this was deception. This was science and sorcery in one. Warne later said it was probably one of the best flippers I've ever bowled. And you could tell by the look on Richardson's face. He had absolutely no idea what just happened. His reaction was part shock, part disbelief, part, am I on candid camera?
Nobody recognized the fact that it was a flipper. The ball that he deliberately bowled out of the front of his hand, that pitched short, and you thought, yes, this is short, I'm going to get lots of runs here. I just skidded on. Everybody thought, oh, that's a bad ball, he was lucky. We didn't know.
This was a moment no one realized was important until later. The turning point. Because while the world would lose its mind over Warne's ball of the century 6 months later, this flipper to Richardson was his true arrival. That wicket cracked open the West Indies like a coconut in a hammer factory. Next up, Keith Atherton. He tried to dance down the pitch and hit Warne into next week. Instead, he was left looking like he'd stepped on a banana peel. The ball turned, dipped, and beat him completely. Ian Healy whipped off the base, stumped. Another one bites the dust. Then came Carl Hooper. Classy, stylish, dangerous. But not today. He went for the big shot, lost shape, and ended up offering a catch to Mike Whitney. Phil Simmons, who had been batting so well earlier, got impatient and hit a nothing shot straight to David Boone at mid-wicket. You could almost hear the Aussie fielders thinking, cheers mate. David Williams entered next, probably thinking, surely he cannot get me. But Warne lured him into a cover drive, floated it up just enough, and boom, caught by Mark Waugh at short extra. That's 5 wickets. Now, the West Indies were crumbling faster than a biscuit in hot tea. Ian Bishop walked in and lasted about as long as a TikTok video. Warne tossed it up, Bishop poked at it, and Taylor took a simple catch at slip. 6 wickets. And finally, Courtney Walsh. He swung hard, missed harder, and Merv Hughes grabbed the simplest of catches. That was it. 7 wickets. The crowd erupted. Richie Benoit in the commentary box probably just whispered, "Brilliant." And that was enough. At the start of that final day, Shane Warne had a career record of 5 wickets at 90.2. By the end of it, he had taken 7 for 52. Let that sink in. 7 for 52 on the final day at the MCG against the West Indies. The Windies collapsed from 1 for 143 to all out for 219. Losing 9 wickets for just 76 runs. Sure, the West Indies won the 4th and 5th test to take the series. But something far more important had been born at the MCG. Shane Warne. And though most people didn't realize it yet, the world had just witnessed the start of something seismic. This wasn't just a good spell of bowling. This was the beginning of a cricketing revolution. Warne went on to take 708 test wickets. But it all started here, with one flipper, one stunned West Indian captain, and one glorious 7-wicket haul that no bowler has matched at the MCG ever since. So guys, that's it for today's video. If you want to see how Jeff Thomson destroyed England in the 1974 Ashes, or just how deadly Brett Lee really was, click on the videos being displayed on your screen.